Hey there, grab your coffee and let's talk business. How to grow it, how to sustain it, and how to harness the wonderful World Wide Web to do it. With me, your host, Jennifer Sikowski. Let's get started. Welcome to a brand new episode of Raney Talks podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer Sikowski, and today the long-awaited guest, Mr. Nev Harris, is with me. Welcome.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you. I love being here. So I almost waved to you.
I know. Well, for the ones catching this on YouTube, they will be able to see that. I am so excited because I've been waiting to get you on my podcast. You have such a plethora of information to share with our audience. I don't know where to start. Other than, tell me about yourself. For those that don't know you and here locally, who are you and what do you do?
Well, I'm Nev Harris, and we live about maybe 5-10 minutes from each other. Funny, crazy. So I'm right in Murrysville too, and I grew up in this area. And how this all came about was we were in a community together, and it was a whole bunch of other agency owners, and they had struggled with their numbers in a way. And I've had a finance background, so I would just start helping them, and just to be helpful because everybody in that community was super helpful. And then they thought that that there was a need to go out there and have the difficult conversations surrounding money. So that's what we started doing. I want to just go out there and encourage people to have these difficult conversations about money, because people normally hide from these conversations around profit and earnings and taxes because they feel they're right-brained, creative people. Maybe they're mompreneurs, maybe they're freelancers, and they just feel it's not meant for them. They're not set out to understand their money, and I disagree with that. I think everybody can understand their money. So that's kind of how we ended up in this spot. I was an agency owner turned passionate advocate for understanding your money. I still have the agency for fun.
And that's a perfect illustration of it, actually. And I love it because a lot of you just mentioned the group that we met in. It's true, because I can't remember I can't remember anybody who said I hate dealing, or I did not. What am I trying to say? That they liked dealing with their numbers. Most of them was, oh, I'll raise my hand because I don't know what my numbers are. My numbers are scary. I don't want to know. And so I think that's awesome that you've turned this into a business. So I'm going to continue on down Nev Harris and your personal brand, because as you know, I'm working on my own personal brand, and I thought, oh my gosh, Nev is doing it. He's doing the thing that I want to do. So how do you truly, your tagline is, you can understand your money, boring not included. Can you give us a general, because our audience are mostly entrepreneurs or small business owners. They got the hustle on the side. How do they set themselves up for success when they're small and building?
So to get from small in building to a more bigger, sustainable company that you dream of, and that you can make more impact for your clients, more impact for your employees, more impact for your family, you need to have your hands around your money from the beginning. Because if we all had more money, we could all create more impact. And there's two ways to get more money. You can make more money, or you can manage the money you have better so it works harder for you. And that's why it's so important from the beginning. And I think what you need to do is, one, having an accountant's great. I'm like most people say, oh, you're anti-accountant. No, I'm for accountants. I love accountants. I think accountants are brilliant people. But I realize that maybe in the beginning you can't afford an accountant. So get yourself some bookkeeping software. It's confusing at first, and it's not the best. The reports aren't the best, because here's the problem. The reports are geared for all financial reports, and all financial language hasn't evolved in 150 years. So these reports for small business accounting software are the same kind of reports that a Fortune 500 company uses. And that's the problem right there. So the reports are hard to understand, but I could give you some examples of ways that you probably already understand what the reports are saying, but they're in what I call accountantese. So it makes it so difficult to understand. So that's what I think the first step could be. If you have a good business accountant. Now I'm not talking a tax preparer or somebody that works primarily with personal accountant. You need a good business accountant so that's what I mean by accountant. Yeah. And then what we try to teach people is how can you, because that accountant is gonna speak accountantese, because that's just what they do. There's a joke that I heard. It's that an accountant friend had told me. He's like, how do you tell an introverted accountant from an extroverted accountant?
I don't know.
The extroverted accountant looks at your shoes instead of his shoes when he's talking to you. So it's kind of a bad joke, but you get the point that, they just, there's not much of a difference between those types, because they're all just. So my mission is for you to have a clear conversation with your accountant once you start talking to an accountant. So if that wasn't very,
No, that was good.
intentional.
Yeah, and to managing your money. So do you have a particular software that you're like, this is what we typically recommend to our clients or customers to utilize when they're getting started?
I would look into Xero QuickBooks. Australians seem to prefer Xero. US seems to prefer QuickBooks. Either I think are a necessary evil. I just think it's understanding and being able to benefit from what those accountant software is kicking out to you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, here's the thing. People come to me and say, here's my profit and loss or / income statement that they have. This is what it prints out. This is what it is. But if it does, and what it says right there is, did you make money? Yes or no? Which is, it's good to know. You want to know if you made money, but what you really want to know is, why did I make money? Am I making less money? Is something, and if I am making more money, why? If I'm making less money, why? So it's having these reports, and even if you have to export these reports into which is pretty simple, just export into like an Excel document, and then you have 6 months of data. Then you could say, okay, my marketing expense all of a sudden jumped way up here, and that either caused my profits to be much higher. So now I know my profits are not much higher, and I'm like, great, my profits are higher. I expect them to be higher. Next month, okay, wow, I spent more on marketing and my profits went up. Maybe I should look further into that. I spent more on marketing and my profits went down. That marketing's not working. So now you're getting insight, and you have a trend. Are these numbers going up? Are they going down? Are they flat? So wage expenses. Okay, I hired additional people, because everybody's like, when do I hire?
Right.
Well, I hired additional people. I'm less profitable. Okay. And so maybe those additional people I hired, maybe not. Maybe I need to look into what they're doing and the jobs they're working on. If they're, if I've cost these jobs, right, being the extra labor expense I have, or I hired these additional people, my profits jumped 30%. Maybe there's room for another person, or maybe I need to switch, or making more money in a certain product than another product. So I think it's the trends that you need to look at. So you need to get 6 months worth of numbers and analyze not just what's happened that much in that snapshot, because a profit and loss is a snapshot of that day, that month, and we all can look good in a snapshot. This isn't how we look when we get out of bed, right? This is how we look when we go on camera.
Right.
So,
I don't know. Hey, I don't know what you're talking about, Nev. I wake up like this. But no, you're right. You're absolutely right.
And that's what I'm saying. So look at it over time. Look at a snapshot of you over, you can see, how you've changed if you look like 12 pictures of you over 12 months.
Mm-hmm.
But if you it says when you look at 12 months worth of data, you could see the direction the numbers are taking and the effect that that change has on your bottom line. And that, I think, is a big takeaway that if you're doing that, you're going to have a much more feel of what you won't be surprised. Oh, I made money this month. Hell yeah. Maybe it was a one-time kind of thing and you should plan on it for next month. Or maybe you should say, okay, I did this. I need more of this. And then you do more of it till it stops making you money. Then you're like, okay, I'm done with it. I don't want to exponentially scale my Facebook ads because, as we all know, Facebook ads don't exponentially scale. So then you really have a feel for how all this and how all the pieces play together too. So
yeah, that's definitely a different take, because when I'm working with certain accountants, they're only looking at my profit and loss. They're looking at my budget and seeing month over month, and that doesn't tell me a lot. Yeah, am I in the red or am I in the black? That's pretty much is what they're looking at. So when you start breaking it down like that, I can definitely see the impact of being able to make decisions also on how to move forward or how to grow based upon the trends of where I'm spending or what I've cut back.
Yeah, exactly. You've nailed it. Probably a lot more succinctly than I nailed it. You've done well.
Have I graduated? Can I have the course badge? Because you are, and that brings me to the next, you are rocking out a course for this that's coming soon. Tell me, so not only you're doing the coaching with individuals and helping them understand their numbers better, but how does the course play in it, and what is the course?
Okay, so we have a course that's based on helping our target market, which is agencies, freelancers, the creative professional, understand their money. All right, and we do this by we have one module that was like a sample of the whole module we have, where we actually take these complex terms and we break them down into simple terms, like everyday terms that should have evolved 50, 60, 70 years ago when entrepreneurial culture evolved. It should, the way we talk about money should evolve, but it didn't, regretfully. So and that whole section pretty much breaks down into stuff like, sales minus expenses equal profit. Common sense, right? Account needs, what you'd see on a financial statement is gross revenues minus cost of goods sold minus operating expenses plus income from continuing operations minus non-recurring events equals net profit. That long ass string of words that make zero sense, all it says is sales minus expenses equal profits. Why not just say that? Because it's crazy, because most of our businesses, we don't have a huge cost of goods sold. We don't need that. We don't even need that as a capital. We don't even need to confuse ourselves with the word cost of goods sold. What the hell? And then operating expenses, why don't we just say expenses? Because we don't have all these varied expenses. And gross revenue, it's sales. Net profit is just profit, for crying out loud, because we're not doing all sorts of crazy calculations on with 10 levels of profit. It's not important for the type of businesses we have. Now, if you have a manufacturing company or something along those lines, maybe you need all those kind of complex languages and everything like that, because you have a $50 million.
And there's a lot more involved.
You have plant, property, equipment. You have inventory. You have you have all sorts of mortgages and leases and loans and all that kind of crap that we don't have. So why are we trying to take our square peg and jam it into their round hole? But that's what every accountant will do, and that's what we do. Then we come up with all sorts of confusing hacks to help us get around it, which are great. I love the hacks, but they don't. But you're not learning anything from it. It's helping you bridge a gap, but you're not learning how to. I always say in the website world, it's like a plugin. You could use a plugin all day. We use plugins all day in our business because we're not big on coding. But you learn a little bit of CSS, you learn a little bit of code, you don't need nearly as many plugins because you understand fundamental. And then you could go off and create 20 different things instead of buying 20 different plugins. So I want to teach a little bit of knowledge so that you can apply it in a lot of different ways.
That's good.
So, and then we teach a decision-making framework because you touched on that. Like that, it helps you. You can see this helps you make better decisions. We have all sorts of templates and forms to fill out that you can make decisions. Should I hire this person? Should I buy this product? Should I start this new product line? And helps you evaluate all your different decisions. So you're making better decisions with your money. All this coming together, to allow you to be more effective with your money. So, and that's what I challenge people, like with just that example I gave you about sales minus expenses equal profit. I can't understand my money. It's not meant for me. I'm not that kind of person. Well, you understand more than you do. You just never had it explained clearly to you.
That was my next question, is how do you break down that fear of understanding financials? When someone says, I'm not a financials person, or I don't understand my numbers, or my numbers scare me, how do you respond to that? How do you break down that wall?
Well, that is the $64,000 question. Seriously, I mean, it's hard. I mean, because we have this ingrained belief. So here's what we did. We went into Facebook communities, and we belong to 1 million Facebook communities that we would get a ton of help from, and we really appreciated it. So we went in there with the mentality, we're going to go in there and just help people as much as we can with their numbers, and that was our mentality for the last 6 months, just to be really helpful, because that's one of our core values as just an overall company and people. We couldn't find people talking about money in these Facebook groups. It was just, they just wouldn't bring this up. So we created a Facebook group that, that is hope will support, and where we give all sorts of free training away that we hope will help start a movement and help create a conversation around this. Because I know at the core of me that you can understand your money, but that mindset about it is one of the biggest problems. If we created obstacles to people becoming a client of ours, it's not that they don't realize they have the problem that we solve. It's they don't believe that the problem could be solved for them. And with all the marketing in the world and everything in the world we could do, we can't, solve that. We can't go in there and rewire people's brains. So, so I'm going on podcasts like this. I'm just trying to get out there and evangelize the message. Hey, look, like, buy our course, talk to your accountant, talk to your brother-in-law, read a book, get a hack, do whatever you can, but you can understand your money and do it somehow, because it will make an impact. And that's the message I want to get out there. And if you do our course, our whole first section that we is on mindset. We have a whole module on just mindset that we say, if you do this course, you could do this course and find out some stuff and learn a lot of stuff. But if you don't do this mindset module first, it's going to be far less effective. And so that's how we try to combat that in the course. But if you don't get into the course, we do a lot of that free mindset training in the group. But if you don't engage in those ways, we can't. So I don't have the answer to that question, but that's the kind of stuff I'm trying. If anybody out there in the podcast community, YouTube knows or has ideas, please comment.
Well, let's talk about because I'll be adding your course link, your website, and then the Facebook group to our show notes, because I do think it's important. I'm in your Facebook group and I love it. I love seeing you and Mary Beth pop up all the time, but the information that you're giving away it's actionable. Like, I can take it and I can make sense of it and I can use it. And I think that's very important, because most accountants or financial people that you talk to, they tend to be up above your head, or they talk straight to the numbers and the reports, but not how I can apply it. So your Facebook group, Think Tank for Agency Owners and Freelancers, is it an open group?
Well, it's a closed group, because one of the reasons it's a closed group is we're very, I don't want to say we're very selective, but we're very protective of our membership. Awesome. And we want to be able to give people the boot. if you're not supportive, if you're not friendly, if you're not a nice person, you're not in our group. So if you're a jerk and you want to put people down, you're not welcome.
Stay away. You have been warned
So,
by Nev Harris. You have been
and we
warned.
police that thoroughly because we're passionate about creating a fun. It's not all about finance. It's a fun place for you to go to because we pay a lot of money to be in a mastermind that we have a very supportive community around it, and it's how we became such good friends. And so I wanted to create maybe that kind of environment for people who have these kind of business. Because let's face it, having a business, it's lonely. And if you don't have people around to give you that pat on the back, to pick you up when you're down, to pick you up when, to help you celebrate when something really good happens and you look around and there's nobody there for you, hell yeah, I just did that. Yeah, who am I talking to? And then you go in there and be like, guys, I just, I had a $15,000 sale, or I really completed this project and I'm so proud of it. Go in there, share that, man. And the people in the community will be like, we'll feed off that. It'll help. Don't be having a crappy day, and you'll be like picking them up. So yeah, and look, come with a problem. Like, man, I'm really struggling with this. I don't feel I have this customer. They're giving me problems. I've done everything I can. How do I do? We never have those kind of problems, right? All our customers are great.
Yep.
So, but and so it's a place for support there. And then we do the finance training, and it's kind of, so it's a safe place to talk about numbers, but it's also a fun place to celebrate and get help and, get inspired. So, and it's nevharris.com/Facebook group is an easy way to find it, because that name for that Facebook community, I can't even spell that.
You don't have to. I'll have it linked. But okay, so I have to, because I'm so proud of you for launching your brand. And since the time that we've talked and figuring out your niche and where to go, you just blow me away of how far you've come and how much you've evolved. But I want to talk about that, because for me, and there's others that I know that are listening that are venturing out to launch their own personal brand. Shoot, let's really dive into that. So what made you decide that this needed to be from you?
Well, I don't have a very answer that's gonna be like, I'm just so smart that I came up with this. No. Well, why not? I woke up one morning and created it all. No. I had no idea what I was doing. And because personal branding is so much different than like branding for a company. And I have a friend that actually was helping me out when I was struggling with a couple of things, and that is brilliant at personal branding. And she really helped out with the personal brand, helped creating it. Her Flourish Online, Melissa, she was phenomenal, and it really brought me to life with around the idea that money is a boring topic. Money is a scary topic, and that I approach it with such fun and such kind of, you could say, goofiness, but it's really actionable, because I really believe what you said there. I love to learn, and I had an ex-girlfriend challenge me one day. She said, "You're always learning, but what are you applying?" And so I was like, okay, well, if I'm going to spend 3 hours doing a course, 5 hours reading a book, there has to be a takeaway that we're going to put in, or I've just wasted time, or I'm just the smartest hermit crab. So, and nobody wants to be that. So it's putting action behind it. So, and then the personal brand, it's a really cool kind of thing when it's pulled off right, because it makes you, it opens the door to you, that people get to know you a little bit more, and then so it's just I think it's a cool way to go about it. So I'm not the personal branding genius, but trust me, I'm on Boxer all the time. Melissa, help me with this.
Well, so tell me, could you have come this far, or would it have been this, well, I don't want to say well packaged, but because it is so well packaged, but if you would have done it yourself, then to have someone who is an expert in personal branding, because sometimes I believe we get so focused on, well, we're going to do it ourselves, but really you shouldn't do it yourself. And that's something, even before we hit record, you challenged me with my own personal brand that, you point blank asked, are you going to do it yourself? And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do it myself. But after talking to you, I don't think that's the right decision. So do you think that it significantly, like you staying in your lane and hiring someone to come in and be the professional, talk about how that made an impact on your launch?
Everything was so about switching subjects. We have an agency. I've been an agency owner for we've had a marketing company for 7 years. Okay. I have an absolutely phenomenal graphic designer. I think I'm, got some skills when it comes to branding. So wasn't lack of knowledge or resources in marketing.
Sure.
But it was lack of really understanding how to pull out the essence of a person in their personal brand. And trust me, I happen to have a good friend in Alyssa, and I happen to be, a person that likes a spirited conversation. So, and so I went back and forth with her, challenging her on some of these ideas. Like, no, that's not how traditional branding works. And she's like, and she's kind of, my friend Alyssa, she's kind of like, she's not the loudest person. She's not the most forceful person, but she's like, I will completely disagree with that, and you are wrong. And she was right. I was wrong. I was completely wrong. And so it's like, to answer your question, yes, I think you should have somebody. Even, like I said, I have a team of designers, and I know my stuff on a lot of when it comes to marketing and everything like that. But yeah, everything. So what she gave us was a brand board with all the elements we needed. And so I give it to my designers, and they come up with this phenomenal stuff. But if it's like, it's like you are a great cook, but you're given all the recipes, from a really master chef, that really crafted this stuff. So you're making all this fantastic food, but you were taught exactly how to make it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's like having all the things in place. It's like when you buy the Lego set and they give you all the Legos and a little diagram how to make it, and you make this phenomenal Lego thing. You didn't make it from like the $124 piece random set. You made it from the 16-piece set that has specific instructions.
Hey, you're talking to the queen of Google when my son's like, Mommy, make a dinosaur and Legos. And so I'm sitting here Googling like how to make it from Lego. Because, shout out to Lego.com for having those maps, or having those illustrations on how to put together. But yes, I completely agree. So when you launched your personal brand, did you have any reservations? Because you're putting you out there, not the business, you.
So, this is gonna sound maybe I don't mean to come off as arrogant when I sound this, but absolutely not. Because now, and here's the reason: because everything was so. And so Alyssa actually did my website. In full disclosure, we designed really amazing websites. Alyssa did my website, and then gave me a template for the sales page. But anyway, so I looked at it and I said, holy hell, this is me. This is beautiful. This is perfect. This is great. Yeah. So I didn't. So when it went out there, I trusted her because she knew so much, and I absolutely loved what she did. Here's the funny things, and we're going to change some of this stuff around because we have all sorts of new photos. But she took photos. I had a photo shoot done, and I'll tell you something about photographers. I had a photo shoot done, a professional photo shoot by a professional photographer. And then I gave her and it was a couple years ago, and I gave her the pictures, and she's like, okay, we're not using any of these. These all suck. These all look like, yearbook shots or something, not even yearbook shots, but, what is it, like too professional, too clean, and there was no personality in them. So she was my friend, and so we were in Santa Monica. We were all in Santa Monica together, and a lot of those pictures come from just us just joking around in Santa Monica.
Like the
So
handstand
there's a
picture.
picture of me doing a
Yeah.
handstand in the Chinese district because I always like goof around and like do like crazy poses in front of stuff because I'm weird. And yeah, so it's all about if it encompasses all of the. And I guess I didn't because let me re-answer that. And if I'm rambling, you just let me know.
That's
But
okay.
because when I never had to think about this question, but um, I had talked about it so much and maybe like debated the point was so much with her about this stuff that she had me so convinced that you have to put yourself out there as you.
Mm.
And I think that could be a struggle for a lot of people. And I think it would have been a struggle for me if I hadn't really talked to her about it and um, gone through all the exercises and seen what it came out with and then thought, wow, this really does encompass me. And if I didn't have such a um, passionate, if I wasn't so passionate about my why, wasn't so passionate about how I really want to get out there and just change the conversation people are having, because I don't know the answer to that question you asked me before.
Mhm.
How do you overcome people's fear of it and thinking it's not for them? I don't know, but that's what I'm sure as hell trying to figure out. That's what I'm starting to start a conversation about. So at least I could be that little spark that maybe starts people, on a much broader conversation about the topic, even if it never comes back to them taking my course. My course is just like, I'm not some guy out there saying, hey, you could do this, but I'm not going to tell you how, because how is that helping anybody? So I'm trying to start a conversation. And then if you want to filter down to a course, great. If not, go find it somewhere else because it's something you need. So, yeah, anyways.
That's good. Because as we were talking, I'm walking down that same path, and I've been holding back for quite some time, and I'm just ready. I know I'm ready. I'm already outside my comfort zone. I'm ready to leap even further, but I want to be able to show up online with, for lack of a better term, my best face forward, right? Like I want to be able to stand behind my brand and it to be me. So I love that the conversations that we're having, because that speaks to me and hopefully others that are listening, how important it is to know your why and what you're passionate about, and then not be afraid to ask for help or seek outside of your own self to bring it to fruition, right? Because sometimes I think that we limit ourselves so, and I know that I do that on my own projects that are personally for me, and it's not until I bring it to my mastermind friends or whatnot to get a different perspective that it's like, oh, okay, well, I am on target, or maybe I shouldn't go that route. So I think that that's super encouraging for me. Before we wrap up, I have one more point that I want to bring to the table. And this
Can I
one,
just ask you a quick question before that?
no, yes.
Um, Could I hire you to like paraphrase my long-winded statements and for you to just sum it
Yes.
up really succinctly? Because that
Yes.
was, yeah, exactly.
I mean,
And
I
I
don't know
think
if you
it's
can
not about.
afford me, but no. But yes,
So I think I just want to say one thing about what you said there. It's not about putting, because I want to contrast to one thing you said to me before we started the podcast and one thing you just said there. It's not about putting your best foot forward. It's about putting your most authentic foot forward. And it's like what you said that this podcast is. Yeah,
boom, I just
exactly.
dropped my pen because you're right.
So, because that mic is really expensive, I want to drop that.
No, no, we'll leave it there. That's why it's on a stand, so I don't touch it.
You're not Kanye. You can't afford 100 of it.
No,
So, please don't drop the mic.
I'll
Anyway,
just
so
drop
yeah,
my.
so yeah, I think it's about putting yourself out there, and I think it's about having a stronger. I think your why needs to be stronger than your fear of putting yourself out there.
That's good.
All right, moving on.
That's good. That's good. Okay, so the one thing that I wanted to end on, because you are successful, you have done so much, your businesses have evolved, and then you saw a need that you're so passionate about and you launched this business. But what people may not realize, that there's this gentleman who's appears to have it all together, but internally on the struggle bus. And I want to talk about that because as business owners, agency owners, we tend to lock that side up or not talk about it or feel like we're all by ourselves in what we feel. And you had shared in one of our Facebook groups that we are in together, you brought a post up about anxiety, depression, and owning an agency / freelancing company. And I'd like to just talk about that and how, like, I don't even know what question to ask to how to open up that topic, because it was such an impactful post of your story. So can you tell me just a little bit about your journey with that?
Sure. Nervous laugh. My heart's starting to beat fast. So it's that was I watched the Brene Brown special, and it made a Netflix, and I highly suggest anybody to watch it. And if you just want, something that's gonna really so I watched that, and I figured that, and I won't be so eloquently speaking about this because it makes me a little nervous. I watched that, and it made me think that, it's all about courage and how courage is being vulnerable and everything like that. And the guy that runs our mastermind brought up a talk about, in one of our sessions about having a psychiatrist come in and just talk about that kind of thing. And kind of hit home for me. I've been, and this is hard to say, but I think it's important to get out there. So this is why I want to say this. So, you talk about your why being stronger than your fear. I struggled like with really bad depression and anxiety for and I was never like that. My whole life I was a positive, really mentally tough person, and so it was really hard for me to admit to myself that I actually had depression, like really bad depression and like debilitating anxiety. And because of I just, without getting into boring you with a bunch of woe was me details, because just I had a really, really rough 7 years with stuff, even though I was personal and kind of business stuff. And even though it ended, like you said, on the outside, it looked like I was still the same happy, smiling, successful kind of person. It was like it's really tough. And I don't know. I denied it. I went to all sorts of doctors. I self-diagnosed myself with Google, with every other thing I can imagine except anxiety. I remember I was with one endocrinologist testing my blood sugar because I said I had low blood sugar, because, the mind's a powerful thing. And because when I ate, I felt better. Mm-hmm. So I said it was blood sugar. And it was just my mind trying to grasp onto anything that would be a solution. And I remember when he told me, he did all sorts of testing and said, hey, look, your blood sugar's fine. It's always been fine. It's great. It's, you don't have a blood sugar problem. And he said something, and I said to myself, I mumbled underneath my breath, well, it just can't be anxiety. And that should have been a moment that said, hello, it is. But, I really, really meant that. I can't just be anxiety. What other thing can I Google to figure out what it is? Mm-hmm. And then I have ADD, and I've always had ADD, and I managed to be successful even as a result, and and it's still really is a struggle in every day of my life with my ADD, but I've managed to work or make it manageable. But, I blamed all my problems because at my ADD. And the thing with that is, so anxiety keeps you from doing stuff. And then when you don't do stuff, especially if you're a person used to doing stuff, you get depressed because you're not doing stuff. And then you add ADD in there, and it's just like anxiety and ADD and depression. They do not play nice. They feed off each other, and they make each other one worse. And it's hard to tell where one ends and one begins and everything like that. So I think and the reason I'm so like into this day, and I'm talking about it, trying to be less embarrassed about it, because I feel the more people that I made this Facebook post, and immediately I regretted it. And I said to my friend, I said, man, I just screwed up. I said, I posted this thing. I said, it's a disaster. I said, I watched a damn Brene Brown special. She got in my head. And she says, calm down. It's okay. And then, the next day there was a lot of response to it, a lot of positive response, a lot of people saying that, I helped them and everything like that, just admitting it and talking about it. So, that was the post, and it was, here's what I feel. Here's the why, and I'm not talking about it because I want to tell you about myself. I'm talking about it because I want to break down the barriers to having conversations about mental health. I think there's a stigma around it that's messed up. I think, a lot of people, I saw some statistic, and I don't know statistic, but it's like, if, how long it takes a person to, when they're sick with something, when they're having a health problem, how long it takes them to get to a doctor. And it's like some small amount of time, maybe like a couple months or something like that, or, but it's years and years before somebody is actually willing to go to a doctor and admit they think they're anxious or depressed. And I think like the toll on our society and the toll on our families and the toll on the impact we could make as business owners and stuff like that is immense, because it just robs us of everything we're trying to do, because we have a society that's so embarrassed to talk about this. And why am I like, why is this so hard for me to talk about? Because I'm talking about it just because, you get me rambling, I will ramble when I'm rambling. So, and then I talk more when I get more nervous, and I just say, well, I'm just going to talk more about it. I'm going to talk more about the thing that's embarrassing, because then I want to embarrass me. It's crazy. But I really feel that we shouldn't be so like, we shouldn't be embarrassed to try medicine. We shouldn't be, I know I'm not a big medicine person. I hate medicine. I refuse to go on prescriptions. And I went on the prescription because, and it helped me get, and that was super hard to say, because I think we're in a culture that thinks there's a pill to solve everything. And I absolutely believe that is the wrong way to do things. But in this case, in some cases, like if you have high blood pressure and you've done everything humanly possible, like cholesterol, my dad was on, never would, didn't like cholesterol medicine, because it made him sore. And his doctor pretty much told him some people just genetically have high cholesterol and their diet's only going to be 10% of it, because my dad's diet was perfect and he could only move his cholesterol by 10%. He had to be on cholesterol medicine. That helped prolong his life. That's needed. I could not get my head above water to catch a breath, to see where everything was at. And then the medicine helped me catch my breath, look at things, redo things, and take it for 6 months and see where we're at. But here's what I said in that post, and here's what I'm going to say here again. I'm not going to be embarrassed, and I'm not going to think it's wrong if I have to stay on that medicine for more than 6 months. So, because it's helping me do what I want to do. It's helping me be a better leader, better to my friends and family, better to my employees, serve my clients better. So, my depression went away, and it's funny about this kind of thing. My depression went away after hanging out with you guys, and the MavCon, just being around people that love and care for you, and being in a community like that. And that's the reason I wanted to start my Facebook community, because we paid a lot of money to have that kind of support, and I want people to have that kind of support in my community. So, in my Facebook group. So, and then it wasn't even a whole big talking about depression or anything like that. It was just a whole bunch of support and love and kindness and helping each other with stuff that my depression went away, but I still had the debilitating anxiety, and I needed some medicine that helped me, get my head above water. And it's just, yeah. So, yeah, and I think sometimes people do, and I think it's like they're, yeah, I think our just culture is really backwards on this kind of stuff.
Yeah. And I don't think enough people realize that you're not alone.
Yeah.
I've been down that road before in previous situations and had to, in my own history with that, I had been on medication to help with the anxiety and of what I was dealing with at that time. And you really, like, I know for me, I felt like, there's a stigma to it. And it was a stigma that I was even applying on myself with that and going to seek a counselor and being able to talk through and work through those problems. And I love the fact that more and more the people around me who I don't suspect it are the ones that are like, nope, I'll raise my hand up. I'm going to share my story, because that takes courage and that takes selflessness, because you have to be able to put yourself out there. And I can't tell you right now, there's 56 likes and loves for that post and 28 comments going strong by you just taking the time to post and share your heart and your battle with this. So I just want to commend you. And I know it's so fresh for you to come on my podcast and open up about this, because I immediately jumped on it, because I feel like hopefully in a small way, the more that you talk about it, the more impact that you'll have. So thank you so much for sharing that. Is there one thing that you would tell somebody who may be that business owner who's struggling with anxiety and they're feeling like they're locked in a box? Is there something that you would tell them if they're sitting across from you?
A couple short things here. I would say, find people you could talk to. Not everybody in your life you could talk to. A therapist. I had a bunch of people. I went to a therapist for a little bit, but it was more like when I looked up what therapy was, if you want. Well, so I think therapists are good, but I had enough friends and support network that I was very lucky that I could talk to, and it was about that kind of stuff. Don't be afraid to bring it up to your doctor, and here's the bad kind of medicine. I think like the Xanaxes and the Valiums, that kind of stuff. I think they're good for like if you're flying on a plane, if you kind of thing. But there was just an article out there that I just read like yesterday or something like that, they could be addictive and everything like that. But I'm talking like the SSRIs, the like Prestige, Zoloft, and those kind of medicines, Selexes, and I think there's the kind of medicines. Don't be embarrassed to, if you have to go the medicine route, and don't think it's a lifelong, thing. So, and I'm super sensitive to medicine, and that's why I kind of fought so I went to an ADD specialist to help with my ADD. I paid a lot of money. He was in Virginia. He wasn't covered by my insurance, and he pretty much said, I think we need to cure your anxiety before we could work on your ADD, because he did all this blood testing and all this interview. And he says, look, it's your main problem right now is not your ADD. You have ADD, and you definitely have ADD, but the anxiety is what is the problem. So there's all sorts of different drugs, and just because one doesn't work for you, just because the first 5 you try doesn't work, doesn't mean the last one will, because that's what I had to do, and I found one that did. And just know that you are not alone, because I want to be on this podcast talking about it, and I'd be hiding somewhere because of that post I made on Facebook if it wasn't. And I told you, I didn't even, I put that out there, and I checked it in an hour, and there was 2 or 3 likes and posts. I'm like, okay, nobody's laughing at me, making fun of me, or saying I'm autistic. And then I was like, okay, good. I didn't need to ever look at it again. I'm just going to hide from it. I forget I did that. And then my sister said to me last night, that post is really blowing up. And then, and I looked at it and I'm like, wow. And it was the impact. It was all these people saying, thank you, and so when you asked about it, I'm like, oh, dear God. I like finance. I want to help people with this stuff. I don't want to embarrass myself in front of a national audience. But I don't think it's embarrassing myself. At least the more I talk about it, the more I get comfortable with it.
Right. Because
thank you, Jen.
You're welcome. Because you are working. I believe that there's so many people that we don't realize that are fighting that battle, and that they don't have to feel alone. So, and anytime that those raw, fresh emotions, I think it's important to keep talking about it. So thank you so much for talking about that. And not only for talking about the anxiety and the depression, the mental health issues, but also thank you so much for the nuggets on our finances. Because I think that what you had mentioned about breaking down your finances and getting a grip on the impact that your trends over time have for your businesses and how to make decisions based upon that is so valuable. So not just looking at your P&L, but looking at why. So thank you so much. And I will definitely be posting the show notes. So anyone who's listening, make sure to check that out. And if you can't get to those, go to Nev Harris, NEVHARRIS.com to learn more about the upcoming course that's launching when?
Well, our limited time, we're doing a beta round that's 10 people. It's going to sell out pretty quickly. That we're just doing a live webinar, but the real course launches January 9th. So that's when the online course will launch and everything like that. The beta is, if you sign up for the wait list, you'll get first access to the beta, and it's going to be a live webinar, a live Q&A where we're running through the stuff, live, with the question and answer, and we're giving a whole bunch of big bonuses on it, pretty much because we want to know, like, here's what we're teaching you, but we want to know what else you want to know. So we want to know your questions too. So we want to be able to answer all those in a much more interactive format for the first go around. And we're limiting that to only 10 people. And just because we want to create that close, intimate environment where people could talk. And so that kicks off November 14th. And then, and pretty much the only way to get on that is to get in the wait list, or just you buy the course in January. If you're in the beta, you get access to the course for life. But, yeah. So that's that. So that was probably a very confusing answer to a simple question. And normally I don't do that when it comes to finance. I can simplify finance. I just complicate the simple answers. Are you hungry? But here's a 3-paragraph response to that.
No, I have to admit, this has been the most fun having you on this podcast. Please come back. Once the course launches, expect to come back, because I want to do a recap of your course, but also bring back for some more financial advice. So thank you so much. And anyone who's listening, that if you found this helpful, or let's just be honest, like if you just want to reach out because you are dealing with the same issues as Nev and I have talked about today, please do not be afraid to direct message me via Rainy Day Design, or find us, hashtag us by Rainy Day Talks Podcast, because we would love to hear it. And we would love to continue down this road of talking about mental health here on the podcast. So Nev, once again, thank you so much for spending your time with me today. And it has been an absolute pleasure having you with me.
Thanks. Yeah, it was great talking to you, Jen. See you, everybody.
Thank you. A huge thank you to Mark at Mark Levander Productions for sponsoring Season 1 of Rainy Day Talks Podcast. I'm very particular who we partner with, and Mark was a no-brainer. Mark does all of our video editing and puts all of the components and pieces together for our YouTube channel and podcast. If you are looking to publish your own YouTube series, podcast, or need photography work, please contact Mark through marklevanderproductions.com.